gotta tell you, this makes me pretty happy. Welcome back to Random Rod Shop. Today we're kind of hooked up. We're going to get right into it. Last time we worked on putting the computer in, building the bracket. I've got that bolted in. I got the wires hooked up to the bottom. Today we're going to work on the fuse box and the battery. And my goal today is to get this thing started. All right, let's get into it. All right, so what we got to do is we got to get this thing mounted right here. And it looks like everything's going to be happy. Everything's going to be happy. Let's see where the wires are going to come in at. Yeah, I think we'll be okay. I guess we'll figure that out. We're going to figure it out when we try to bolt it in. All right, so I think what we need to do is we need to square. What we need to do is we need to square this off so that it sets down flat, and then I'll make a spacer to go on the bottom here so it'll bolt down and it'll set tight against the new inner fender that we've been working on. Let me mark it off and then we'll get back over there and we'll cut it off. I thought that was square on the bottom, but if you look at that, that's got a taper to it. I wonder how that's going to work out. Well, I think I want to square this side off, just so I can get it to set down a little flatter. Okay, let's see if we can get this marked out. You know, if everything was square, it would work out better, but that's just not the way the world works, is it? Well, I think if I bolt that down, so I think I need to make a bracket. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Bad Obsession Motorsports. They've got a project called Binky. And I think they've been working on that project for 14 years, but kind of the running joke is they always need to make brackets. If you haven't seen Bad Obsession, you ought to go look at it. All right, let's see if we can get our hands around what size bracket we need. I think I'll just stack up some whatever I can find so I can get some idea what this thing needs to look like. All right, so I've got some scrap steel. Let's see if I got enough of. Enough. I'll need some more right there. That's close. I'll see how much that is. That looks like 13/16. And that is 1 3/16. I better write that down. All right, so this piece was over here, and this piece was over here. All right, we need to make a bracket. You know, I think that's what we're going to do. I think that's how we're going to attack this. I'm going to cut this tube and weld a plate in it so I can put a bolt in it. We'll set it up there. We'll put a bolt in on this side, tighten it down, and then we'll put a strap across those two plates, and we'll put bolt holes in that strap, and we'll just bolt that down to the inner fender. All right. Once again, let me go find some steel. I think I found the metal to do this, so I'll bring you in here. So my thought is, these are 1/4 inch plate, got holes drilled in, threaded for 1/4 20. Put that, and then weld that. So weld all that together, then I'll set this up in there and drill holes probably here and here. Well, maybe all the way out. We'll have to wait and see once we get it in there. But drill a couple of holes in through the inner fender and put some nuts on the top of this and screw it in. So I got to get this stuff cleaned up. I'm going to back you up a little bit so sparks don't get all in the way, and then I'm going to clean this up and we'll weld it together. Well, grounding that's going to be fun. Well, I got that on the crooked. Oh, it's much better. Gonna go see if I can cool that off a little bit. All right, let's see. I squirted some paint on it. Let's see if we can bolt this back on here and set it to pick up and see if it's gonna do what we want it to do. It's a little touch warm. All right, I'm gonna turn you around and we're gonna see what it looks like. Come on, Fred, get out of the way. I think I'm going to set a battery up there just to make sure that I don't mount this thing and cause a problem. Still got to mount a battery box in there. go right there. I'm probably going to have to unwrap this wiring harness a little bit so I can get it to play nice. But I think that's where we're going to put it. It's right there. That should leave plenty of room for the battery and to get the cover and stuff on this. And it's actually pretty solid. Get that positioned in there. There's a bolt that goes right here. So we get this positioned in here, and then we'll figure out where that bolt there needs to go. Let me get a scribe and see if I can scribe this so I know where to put some holes. All right, let me put some holes in this. Well, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the bolts down through the top, and I'm going to tack weld the bolts onto here, and then we'll just put the nuts on the bottom. Let me find some bolts. All right, well, drilled some holes in there. Now let's see if we can get the holes up here and get this thing bolted down. Well, we get this back bolt back here, and that should stiffen that up quite a bit. I wonder what the probability is that I'm actually going to go in here without me having to do significant rerouting of a wiring harness. You know, that may actually work. Let me get the fuse box there. All right, now I know I got one more. Oh, there it is down there. This is the fuel pump. It's kind of amazing. That's the only wire you need out of that connector. I got 3 wires out of the white connector and 1 out of the red connector. And I have the original transmission in here. I think that's all you need. Let's see if I can figure out which one this is. Looks like right there. Let me get a 7mm and let me tighten those up, because I'm kind of curious whether that thing's going to fold shut. Oh, now that makes me happy. That's actually going to clean up pretty nice. I got a wire loom, or a wrap to go around all these wires. Get these things cleaned up. Yeah, now that makes me happy. So let's see if the cover goes on this thing. Oh, I see. I need to whack that off. Give me a second. Okay, let's see if this is a little better. Oh, yeah. I think we're on the downhill slide here. All right, so we need to get these wires straightened out, get it kind of cleaned up. We got to find a battery box, and I'm ready to see if this thing's going to start again. You know, every time you go monkeying with everything, you always wonder whether it's going to start. So let's get after that. So this is a little bit rustier than what I want to actually put in here. This is the battery tray out of the crew cab diesel project that we're working on. But I like the shape and the size. The only thing that's not quite right is this ear. So I'm going to have to cut this ear off and move this ear in so that this is a relatively a straight line here so that it fits in there. If all of this works, then I'll order a new battery tray and modify it. But for right now, I'd like to get the battery in here and get this thing powered up. So I'm going to go ahead and cut this off and set it in there and see how close we are. I'm going to go put that on a little bandsaw. I'll be right back. Okay, so you can see I just whacked it off. Let's set this in there and let's see how it's going to fit. Let me grab the battery. Alright, so this one's a little bit longer than what I would like. I think I may have been a little mistaken because I think this battery is the right size for this 5.3. Okay, well, looks like I'm going to have to go looking for another battery tray because I'd like it to fit better than that. And this one's too long to actually fit where it needs to go. Right, so that's going to interfere with that. So it really does need to be shorter. All right, we're going to move on. I'll go looking for another battery tray, but for right now, let's see if we can tidy up where that water bottle goes and wrap some wires. I think we might try to wrap some wires first. Let's see what we got to get done here. Well, this is going to be fun. Obviously it's not done yet, but that wasn't as much wrapping as I thought it was going to be. So we'll go back along there. We'll run some nice tape across that. Get it cleaned up. But I'm happy about that. That cleaned up better. Looking at it, it looked like there was a big pile of wires on there. Well, I guess there was, but I hadn't unwrapped as much of that harness as I thought I had. Okay, I need to move stuff around, and we'll get the camera on the other side. We need to do some cleaning on the water bottle, and let's just put this thing to bed. Okay, I think I got the stuff moved out of the way. I got the welder over here. I'll get the camera in here. We've got just a little more tacking to do. In the end, this inner fender is going to have to come back out again so that I can weld it all back up. What I got concerned with when I was doing all the cutting and splicing on it is that it needs to fit once it all gets welded together. So I want to finish tacking it up so I have some level of confidence when I take it out and stick it on the bench over there and finish welding it up and making it look nice, that it's going to fit when I put it back in here. Okay, let me get the camera over here, and there are just a couple little tacks we got to make. We have to, well, I'll show you. Well, I think you can see everything there. So this has to have some supports here. I want to make sure this piece stays where it needs to stay. So I'll put a couple of scrap pieces underneath here just to make sure it stays where it's going to stay. And I want to get this welded in here because in the end I need to, make a trough here. Not that it actually needs it, but I put this trough here so I could get the hose clamp on that hose that goes there, and it just looked better if it was a continuous trough. So I'm going to get this tacked right here, and I'll find some metal and tack this tab where it's supposed to stay. We'll put the water bottle back in there, bolt it down, make sure everything is going to fit. Then we'll see if we can reroute this in some way, shape, or form, get this hose where it's happy. Because this is actually the hose that goes into the radiator. And this is the last critical piece, I believe, before I can check and see if all of my shenanigans have messed this thing up. Because I'd really like to start this thing, and I'd like to, put it in gear and, see if it'll move forward, see if it'll move back, and yeah. Let me get it tacked. We'll get the water bottle in here. Well, that ought to make it stable enough and hold until we can get this thing out of here so we can really work on it. All right, let me set the water bottle in there. Make sure that's cooled off. I don't want to melt the thing. Okay, I think that's cool enough. Let's see if this will go in here. Now I'm gonna go ahead and bolt it down just to make sure it's gonna fit. All right, let me find some bolts. Well, I think that's gonna work. It's still just a little wiggly, but it's because this lower bracket down here doesn't have any support on it. Once we get it out of here and we get it welded up, that should stiffen that up, and that should, I believe, work. If not, we'll figure it out once we get it out. That should be okay right now. All right, where's this stinking water hose go? Well, that ain't gonna work, is it? All right, so I think I got it twisted up there. I think that's gonna work. If any of you out there are not familiar with LS engines, this is actually the heater hose. You need this tank because the radiator doesn't have a radiator cap. This tank's got to be higher than the radiator so you can bleed the air. And this Y pipe here is how, in stock form, you get water from this tank into the cooling system. I'm not going to mess with this heater hose. I've just got it bypassed right now. We're going to attack the heater at a later date, because that's going to probably involve, I'm going to get into the pickup and take it all apart in there, because I really don't think that heater core will hold water. So right now we're going to keep it bypassed. Let me cut this hose. We'll get this thing hooked up. I think that's got everything pretty happy. Looks like to me it ought to work anyway. No, I don't think I cut it enough, because that's still not happy. What did I do wrong? Well, I can definitely see where we're going to have to come up with a different solution here. All right, well, let's get this thing put back together. It'll work, but it's not happy. Okay, I think I'm going to put some water in this. Okay, so we're going to have to work on the water hose, but that'll be okay. We got to have that inner fender out anyway. I'm going to get the intake tube, and I've got an old K&N filter I think I can stick on there. That definitely is not the end game, but I really am. I really want to get this thing started and see if it'll warm up and do what it needs to do. That would sure make me happy at this point. Okay, let me get the snorkel tube. Wait a minute, is that it? Well, that's the tube. I wonder what I did with the mass airflow. So you can see where I was checking continuity between this post. I couldn't remember which breaker. This post is controlled by this breaker. All the LS engines have this breaker, or have this post, but not all of them have this breaker here. So if you want that post hot, you got to put it's not a breaker, it's a fuse. Put a fuse in that one. Okay, I think I'm gonna do another roundy round on plug-ins and stuff like that. But I think we're getting ready to see if this thing will start. Man, I hope so. All right, let me do another roundy round on the wires. You got to hook up the hot wire. Okay, I think we're ready to give it a try. Let's prime the fuel pump a couple of times. Okay, let's see what it does. Now it's hard to be unhappy about that. Let's see if it goes into gear. have to get stuff cleaned up before I can actually, you know, move it. But at least it tries to go forward and it tries to go back. And the brakes work on it. I gotta tell you, this makes me pretty happy. Okay. Well, I think that's a good place to wrap up this video. You always want to end on a high note. We haven't always done that. So, I appreciate you watching. Subscribe, you know, make a comment, tell your friends, share it. And until next time, I think I'm going to just sit here and be happy.